So, that was definitely a PlayStation showcase of all time. I don't know if it was good. I don't think it was necessarily bad either, but, I think under the circumstances, there were at least higher expectations than that. And hey, maybe that's on us. How dare we as fans have any kind of expectation for a PlayStation event whatsoever? Because I don't think that they've delivered a good event in more than 2 years. I mean, it's crazy it's been that long. But I guess welcome to the vision of Jim Ryan and Herman Holst. I mean, I've been warning people about this for years. This here is their legacy on full display. They pumped all that money into failed live service games, and we're starting to see the cracks in their pipeline. Like, does PlayStation Studios even make games anymore? Where are they? Because we don't have a single 2025 release date confirmed to this day. I mean, I guess we got another remaster that nobody asked for. Days Gone got the Horizon Zero Dawn treatment. I guess that's the thing. Sony had so much dismay for the original Days Gone that they rejected a sequel. Canceled. Yet apparently, we're expected to be excited for the same game that Sony didn't love in the first place. Doesn't that seem a little bit ironic? They want us to believe in something that they didn't believe in? Well, that's not to say that Days Gone is a bad game. I know a lot of fans actually really love that game, and frankly, fans deserve a sequel. But that's not really the point that I'm trying to make here. The point is that fans weren't asking for a remaster. They asked for a sequel, not a remaster. I don't know. It's just bizarre to me that we will have gotten a remaster for Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone before Bloodborne, which is a PlayStation 4 game that fans have actually been asking for. And all of this is after a slow year. Like I said, I think that's where the expectations came from. Last year was slow for PlayStation. So we all wanted to know how they're going to bounce back in 2025. And we were hoping this event, the first event for 2025, would kind of set up the dominoes, if you will. Yet here we are. And we still don't have any information at all about their 2025 first-party lineup. Now, I don't want to be all doom and gloom here, though, because, if anything else here, I think there were several interesting new IP at this event. So first, let's just kind of talk about those, and then we'll kind of circle back to Sony. So Lost Souls Aside finally got its release date. It'll be available on May 30th, and this game continues to look really, really good. It was loosely inspired by Final Fantasy 15, and I think you can tell from the character design and some of its action-based combat. This is yet another Chinese AAA developed game, and we saw what happened last year with Wukong. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Eastern market reacts to Lost Soul Aside. And, I mean, from my perspective, I'm very interested in this game. I hope that it's as good as it looks. I like the setting, I like the character designs, and it just looks like a really fun game. We also got a reveal for Darwin's Paradox. I mean, this is by far the strangest game that they revealed. But you know what? I like it. It's a unique, albeit goofy, idea where you play as an octopus that uses its abilities to not only escape death, but also to save the world. I think this could actually quietly be one of the better games from this state of play. And one of the things that surprised me about this specific reveal is that it's coming from Konami. To see Konami back in gaming is just a great thing to see, and that includes Metal Gear Solid Delta. It also got its official release date for August 28th, and yeah, it looks every bit as amazing as I hoped it would be. It is still 100% my most anticipated game for 2025. Now, another game that caught my eye was The Midnight Walk, which will be available on May 8th. This comes from the creators of Lost at Random, which was actually a pretty good game, but I'm hoping that they've learned from that game and they'll make this one even better because I think the setting and the art style is absolutely amazing here. It's very spooky. I like the dark fantasy setting, and if anything else, I'm going to keep an eye on this one. I can also say the same thing for Tides of Annihilation, which appears to be another AAA Chinese developed game. I mean, they're really showcasing their talent right now, and quite honestly, I think you can make a very real argument that Japan, China, and South Korea are carrying the game industry right now. They've been a lot more consistent in terms of quality, but nonetheless, Tides of Annihilation is yet another really interesting new IP from this showcase. It's about an otherworldly invasion set in a shattered modern London where you can fight hordes of enemies. It looks very action-focused. I like the character designs here, and hopefully it'll have a good story. This was definitely, I'd say, one of the better highlights here. I'd say the biggest highlight, though, comes from Leslie Benzies and his new studio. Now, if you're unaware of who Leslie Benzies is, he was the former president of Rockstar North. So, I mean, he has quite the resume working on the GTA and Red Dead Redemption series, and you can see that translate to this new game. Mind's Eye actually looks pretty incredible, and it definitely draws some comparisons with the GTA series, but with more of a futuristic setting. I mean, you can really see that on full display during the car sections, but I mean, if this game plays as good as it looks, this could quietly be a Game of the Year contender. And I also like what they're doing. They're going to release it this summer, which gives them plenty of headway from the eventual GTA 6, which is expected to release in late 2025. So this will give them a better opportunity for recognition, and I mean, it does look like it has a lot of potential. I'll tell you one cool surprise that I wasn't expecting, though, is Digimon Story Time Stranger. Now, I grew up as a huge Digimon fan, and even after all these years later, I still have a bit of a soft spot for this series. The only problem is that this series hasn't exactly produced a lot of great games. Now, I can point to a few, though, including Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. So this is a part of the Digimon Story series, which makes me a little optimistic that this will be a good entry, and it will be out sometime in 2025. However, I did notice that its pre-orders are $70, which I'd say is a little bit unexpected, but we'll see how this one turns out. Now, we also got a legitimate reveal for Shinobi. I mean, we knew that this one was going to come back, but we got a lengthy trailer here, and it looks every bit as good as we hoped that it would be. Right away, it comes from the Streets of Rage 4 creators, so that's already a fantastic sign, and clearly, Sega knows that. They trust them enough to bring them back on board for full-fledged Shinobi revival after all of these years. It'll be out on August 29th, so go ahead and mark your calendars. And speaking of Sega, they also revealed Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Now, unfortunately, there's still no release date, but my impression is that it's going to be a return to Sonic Racing Transformed. You know, there's no more of that team racing aspect that we saw in the last game, and of course, the karts will be able to transform into flying machines, boats, and things like that. I actually really do like this series. I think it's a nice change of pace from Mario Kart, and it actually kind of feels more similar to Diddy Kong Racing to me, which is by far my all-time favorite kart racer. So I'm optimistic about this game, and I just hope that it supports cross-play day one. And that is something to kind of note here. Most of these games are multi-platform outside of Lost Soul side, so do kind of keep that in mind as well. Now, the only other game that I want to talk about is the one and only first-party game that Sony announced. Now, unfortunately, this is a 2026 title, and they showed zero gameplay. But it is still something to be excited about because Housemarque will be back next year with the release of Saros. The way this game is being described is that it will be another gameplay-first title that takes cues from Returnal. So it's going to be another AAA roguelike, which, I mean, I think that's fairly exciting. Housemarque is a proven studio, and Returnal was a really good game. So I think they probably learned a lot from Returnal, and there's a chance that Saros will be even better. So, you know, I'm all for that, but, I mean, like I said, it's a 2026 game with zero gameplay, and that was the big problem with this showcase. Like, we've waited for such a long time to find out what PlayStation has in store for 2025. And I just don't feel like they answered that whatsoever here. I mean, there were some other games that I thought looked interesting. We talked about those. But a lot of people buy into the PlayStation brand to play those highly coveted first-party titles. And they've just been nowhere to be found since 2023. Now, thankfully, we got Astrobot last year. That was an amazing game. But, I mean, it's been such a long time since they've released a big AAA game. And I know right away how the comments are going to play out. People are going to twist this video and say, oh, I hate PlayStation, when that couldn't be further from reality. I've said it, and I'll just go and say it again here. I'm frustrated because this new era of PlayStation and their decision making hasn't even come close to being as good as they've been in prior generations. And that's because of people like Jim Ryan and Herman Holst. Their leadership has been awful. They took this beloved brand and they took it in a direction that fans weren't asking for. And this is the results of that. A slow pipeline, long development times, and radio silence for years. That's the new era of PlayStation. And it didn't need to be this way. Fans never asked them to pump all that money into live service. Fans have been asking for a multitude of beloved franchises, smaller franchises, not just big franchises. But now Sony, under their leadership, they've been all about go big or go home. And if not, here's a live service game. That's what Jim Ryan and Herman Holst has prioritized. It's a shame. And we talked about my predictions in yesterday's video. I don't think I got a single prediction right. And it's not like I was predicting outlandish announcements. In fact, I even said to temper your expectations. Yet here I am. And even with the little expectations that I had, I'm still disappointed by this event. It's just not the PlayStation that I grew up with. And that's such a shame for me to say. But you know what? That's only my opinion. Doesn't make me right. So let's just take a look at what you all thought. I asked you all to give it a letter grade through the poll of the day, and yeah, seems like we're pretty much on the same page here. Most of you gave it a D or an F. I think for me, I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to give it a C- just because I am at the very least curious about some of these games. I'm optimistic about them, but it's just not the type of showcase that I'm looking for when it comes to a console manufacturer. And I'll just simply leave it at that. So I'm going to go and call this a video. It is what it is. Yes, I'm disappointed, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.